Hi, I'm Alex Burst.
And I'm Noah Zingarelli.
And welcome to Conscious
Kitchen.
Kitchen, where we teach you fun, delicious, and nutritious plant-based recipes. Today, we're going to be making a plant-based twist on an Italian classic. So we're going to be doing a lentil bolognese sauce over some spaghetti. So traditionally, a bolognese has ground beef or veal and a pork component, and we're going to be doing none of that. So the base of our sauce is the chunkiness is going to come from a lot of vegetables and some red lentils. So we have our pasta water on, and once that comes to a boil, we're going to drop our spaghetti.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get working on our sauce in a moment.
Cool. So yeah, we're just waiting for this water to boil. We're not trying not to watch the pot, as they say. It never will boil. But we're pretty sure it's close to boiling. So yeah, as soon as that water's boiling, we'll drop our pasta. We've got some nice semolina flour spaghetti. And we like to choose pasta that comes from Italy primarily. We find that the wheat grown in Italy is a lot different than the United States. And there's a lot of pesticides that go on the wheat here, and they don't have that in Italy, especially if you're buying organic.
Right.
So for people that are sensitive to wheat, you might want to think about trying flour from another country.
Italia.
It seems to make a difference for some people that are sensitive. So
we've got some salted water here that's almost coming to a boil, and I have a sauce pot here on medium heat, and I'm gonna get started by adding a little bit of avocado oil, about a tablespoon. We'll give that just a moment to heat up, and then we're gonna go in with our sofrito. So
why avocado oil and not olive oil? I've always used olive oil.
olive oil is good too, but as we've talked about in previous episodes, it has a lower smoking temperature. So once you heat the olive oil past that temperature, that's when it starts to become carcinogenic. So we really want to work with oils that have a high smoking point. Avocado is great for that. Grapeseed oil is great for that. I grabbed avocado oil on the way out the door today, so that's what we're working with.
Yeah, good. And it's a neutral flavor, right? So
Exactly.
it's not going to be like a coconut oil or sesame oil.
Yeah, it's not overpowering.
Yeah, it blends well.
So we're gonna start our sauce with our sofrito, which is our aromatics. So in French, we use mirepoix. In Italy or Latin cuisine, we use what's called sofrito. So we have celery, onions, carrots, and also some green bell pepper. And the difference between a mirepoix and a sofrito is that a sofrito typically includes some garlic and tomato. So we have some chopped garlic here and some tomato paste, which we'll be using. We're also going to be using some diced mushrooms in our sauce. So now that this is heated up, I'm going to start with our celery because it's going to take the longest to break down. So this pot could be just a touch hotter, actually. I just added some of this, so we'll give this one more second. But what we're gonna do is sweat our vegetables. So sweating is different than sauteing. We don't actually want any color on the vegetables. We're just trying to release the aroma, the flavor. So you wanna just sweat them about 2 minutes until they are translucent and tender. So I'm gonna go ahead and add our celery in here. This was just 2 stalks, finely diced.
It wasn't until I met Alex and started cooking with her that I knew to add these ingredients in stages. I was always just like, throw it all in the pot and saute it together.
Right.
And apparently there's a cooking order, especially with your celery and onions and carrots.
Because not everything is the same density, right? Our celery and our carrots are a lot harder than our onions and our peppers and our garlic. So we want to add them in an order that allows them to cook appropriately. So I've turned this heat up actually a bit, and I'm starting to hear a little bit. So one other tip, I know you're about to get started on your spaghetti.
It's okay, I want this to get just a little more of a rolling boil here.
Okay. As you are creating this sauce, it's all about creating a depth and flavor, and we utilize salt to bring out the natural flavor of each ingredient. If you wait till the end to salt your food, you're just gonna have something that tastes salty. But if you season as you go, you're gonna get all of the flavor brought out. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of salt here because this recipe also contains liquid aminos and miso paste. So those are 2 really salty, flavorful ingredients. So I'm just gonna lightly season with salt here.
All right, so we're ready here. Pasta water's looking good. do all the pasta?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna do it all. So I like to drop it in like so, like that.
This way it doesn't get stuck.
Yeah.
You really need to make sure that you kind of spread out your pasta. You can also add a little oil to the pot to help with that. And you want to be constantly moving it.
Yeah.
If you just walk away, your spaghetti is going to get stuck together. You're going to have lumps or like big pieces that are hard. We don't want that.
As soon as you drop it in, just give it some stirring. It'll also help move the water around, get it back up to a boil. I always check the pasta package for cooking times because every pasta is different. You know, a penne noodle is going to cook a little differently than a spaghetti noodle.
So what's this one?
So this one says, I think, 11 to 13 minutes. So we're gonna check this in about 10 minutes. You know, I'm a little more of an al dente guy, I think, than you are.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah. So
I like my pasta very cooked.
I like it a little firm. We definitely don't want to overcook it. Like mushy pasta is just not that fun to eat. So in about 10 minutes, I'll test for doneness. It probably won't be quite ready, but you know, then we just know. We'll check it every minute after that.
So now that the celery's been going for a minute or two, I'm gonna go in with my carrots. This was 2 carrots, brunoise, or small dice. So again, the chunkiness from this sauce is gonna come from all this hearty veg as well as the lentils. So I'm gonna let this soften up and sweat for about another 2 minutes before I go in with my next ingredient.
Do you know the like throw the noodle against the wall trick?
I mean, I've heard of it.
To
I've
test
never
for doneness?
actually tried it.
So they say if you take a noodle and you throw it against the wall and it sticks, it's done.
Are we gonna do that?
We're not gonna do
We're
that
not gonna
here,
do that
in
today,
this
but you
kitchen.
can do that at home.
So when I used to work at this restaurant in town and we were cooking pasta and I took a noodle and I threw it up at the ceiling, it actually stuck to the ceiling.
And you were like, all right, it's done.
And so we knew it was done and that noodle stayed up there for
No.
years. It never came down. So
Oh man.
it's probably still up there today.
I think at home we might have some smoothie stains on our ceiling from
Yeah.
turning the blender on without the lid.
Yeah, that's definitely happened.
A well-loved kitchen, a well-used kitchen
For sure.
should have some stains.
Mhm.
All right,
I'm
so
starting to smell that too. The
Yeah.
smell is really
yeah, so again, your sofrito or your mirepoix, that is your aromatics, which add to that depth of flavor in your sauce. So you want to give it enough time to cook. This is also why you really want to add things in stages, because when you just dump everything in at once, A, it's not going to cook evenly, and B, you're not giving each ingredient a chance to really shine.
yeah.
This is also a great recipe if you want to work on your knife cuts, right? We want to cut things evenly again to ensure even cooking time. It also gives a better mouthfeel to what you're eating when things are uniform in size. So our carrots are going here. I'm now going to go in with, this is some green bell pepper and our onion.
I'm always impressed with your knife cuts. They're
Thank you.
very precise, very even.
Thank you.
And that, you know, like Alex said, that makes a difference when you're cooking. If you have odd shaped chunks of the same food, they're gonna cook differently.
Yeah, and if you've got a little OCD like myself, this is a good way to practice your knife cuts.
Yeah.
All right, so once you add more to the pot, it gets a little less hot, right? So we're gonna bring that heat back up, let this sweat a bit. I'm gonna add just a touch more salt here. Again, we're seasoning cautiously because we have some very salty ingredients coming up next. You can hear that. So what are we putting on top of our bolognese?
Oh, are you talking about the cashew parm?
I am talking about the
All right,
cashew part.
So, who doesn't love Parmesan cheese? But if you're trying to reduce cow milk, animal milk in your diet, sheep's milk,
Dairy.
all forms of animal milk, dairy, then there's good alternatives. I love Parmesan cheese, fresh grated on my pasta. So we've come up with a cashew parm recipe. So it's, of course, cashews, like the name suggests. We've got some nutritional yeast. So nutritional yeast is a great option for people that are transitioning to plant-based, still love that cheesy flavor. It's also very nutritious, hence the name, so it's got a nutty, cheesy flavor.
Very cheesy.
Yeah, it's loaded with B vitamins and there's
Protein.
Yeah, what, 5 grams of protein?
5 grams of protein and 2 tablespoons.
tablespoons,
So this is a great way to elevate your protein intake. Nutritional yeast on its own is a good cheese replacement to put on your pasta. We love to put it on top of popcorn.
Yeah.
You can blend it into soups. The possibilities are truly endless.
Right. So it's a quick, easy way to get some familiar flavor onto your food. So
Before we do that though,
Okay.
I'm just going to start my next thing. So I like to add my garlic closer towards the end, just so that it doesn't get burnt. There's enough stuff in the pot now so that our garlic can move around. So in addition to the garlic, I'm going to add our, what are these, mushrooms. This is half a pint that I diced up. And you want to really give the mushrooms some time to cook before adding your wet ingredients because they're going to release a lot of liquid. So I'm going to let this go for about 5 minutes here before we add the rest of our ingredients. And in the meantime, Noah's going to make us some delicious cashew parm.
okay, here we go. So everything can go right into the food processor together.
2 cups of raw cashews.
2 cups raw cashews, about 3 tablespoons, quarter cup?
Quarter cup.
About a quarter cup of nutritional yeast. And about a teaspoon of salt. Okay.
That's it.
That's really it. So we're gonna blend it up here. I always like to start with a little pulse just to get the ingredients mixed together. This food processor has a little pulse option. So there we go. And then we can just layer it.
Enough so that it's like grated cheese, but you don't want to break it down so much so that it becomes cashew butter.
Yeah.
So there is a fine line. Right now it's looking good, but I think you could go a little bit.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
A little bit more.
There's still some chunks of cashew in there, so we're just gonna get it blended up a little more.
You can also definitely season your cashew parm with garlic powder or oregano. If you really want to get fancy with it, add some fresh herbs. This is just your basic cashew parm recipe that we love. Stays great in the fridge for up to 2 weeks in an airtight container. You can add it on top of all your pasta dishes. You can even throw it on top of a salad or something like that.
You know, we've got a nice consistency here. It kind of looks like Parmesan cheese. And it tastes great. You know?
Totally looks like Parmesan cheese.
So I'm gonna scoop this into a bowl, set it aside, and
I'm gonna check our pasta.
yeah.
So our mushrooms have released quite a bit of liquid, and what we're gonna do now is a method known as pinçage. So we are taking our tomato paste here, and we're gonna add it to our sofrito mushroom mixture to pince our sofrito. So this is a process that is done before you add any liquid to the pan. We really want to coat all of our sofrito with the tomato paste. And when you are making a sauce, you'll notice the brown bits on the bottom of your pan. Some people might think, oh no, that's not good, but that's actually great. That's what we call fond, which is what is going to help develop the flavor in your sauce. So we first want to pince our sofrito like this. Now at the same time, I'm going to add 2 heaping tablespoons of miso paste. So as I talked about before, Bolognese traditionally has some kind of pork in it, which adds a rich saltiness. But since this is plant-based, the very first time I was making this recipe, I opened up my fridge and I saw an unused jar of miso paste and I thought, that's perfect. So this is really going to give a nice salty depth in flavor. So along with the tomato paste, I'm just gonna kind of move this around so that everything gets incorporated. I'll give it a minute or two. I'm also gonna throw in some fresh rosemary here to get some more flavor going on.
So we're just about the 10-minute mark.
How is that? Oh my god, that rosemary. Delightful.
It's good, it's a little too al dente, so I'm gonna go another minute and check it again.
Okay. So, can you smell this? The rosemary?
Yeah, wow. I love rosemary.
Me too. All right, so now that this is cooking, we're gonna go in and deglaze our pan. So you can do this with wine, you can do this with liquid aminos or some kind of tomato sauce. What this does is it gets all the fond, all that flavor up off of the pan and into the sauce. So we're gonna go right in here. And now that we're getting all of that scraped up, we're gonna add the rest of our ingredients. So in addition to the mushrooms and the lentils, one thing I forgot to talk about is we have some walnuts. This is something when I first went plant-based or vegan, I saw so many people using walnuts as a substitute for meat, for like taco meat or a sauce like this, and I thought it was so weird. I was like, that's not gonna work.
Right.
But let me tell you, it absolutely works.
Yeah.
So we're gonna throw in, I think this is half a cup of finely chopped walnuts. And this just adds a texture that is so satisfying, I'm telling you. We also have 2 cups of cooked red lentils here. If you were slowly making the sauce and you had the time, you absolutely could just add the lentils and cook them in the sauce. But for the purpose of today, I went ahead and cooked them already. Red lentils are notorious for dissolving if you overcook them, so keep an eye on them. And then we're gonna add, this is half a can of crushed tomatoes, a 28-ounce can, half of it, and I buzzed them. So that's going in.
That's perfect.
It's perfect?
Yep.
That's what we want. So Noah's gonna strain our pasta.
That was just about 11 minutes, maybe a little more, so the package their directions was very accurate.
I'm gonna lower this heat. This is chunky, it's hearty, it's so nutritionally dense, and it looks like a bolognese, if you ask me. So I'm lowering the heat here now. We're just gonna let this cook, and Noah is gonna do up our bowls of spaghetti.
So I'm gonna add just a touch of avocado oil. That helps keep the pasta from sticking together.
You could use olive oil here since we're not heating it, but we have avocado oil in house today.
And you just wanna give it a little toss, mix it around.
Oh my goodness, this looks so good. So just like any other sauce, the longer you let it sit, the more the flavors are going to develop. You can leave the whole rosemary in there up until you serve it. Make sure when you're serving it, you pull that out so nobody takes a big old bite. But we're gonna leave this in and just let it kind of cook and marinate and develop for just a few more minutes here. And I'm also gonna chop up some parsley. So adding fresh herbs is not only a way to garnish your final dish, but it's a way to just add another element to it, some brightness and color, and a little bit more flavor.
So I grew up, I have 2 mostly Italian parents, so we grew up with a lot of Italian food in the household, which I love it. So it can be a bit of a challenge to transition to a plant-based way of eating and still finding the foods you love. So when I tried this bolognese the first time Alex made it, I was blown away.
Which is only like 2 or 3 months ago I made it for you for the first time.
Yeah, and I think you made it one other time without the walnuts, but
Oh yeah. The
she made it
walnuts
one
were a
other
new
time without the
addition.
walnuts. So the walnuts was like kind of a new discovery. It was like, let's try this, and it really, really, really like elevated it. It almost, you almost could close your eyes and think you were eating meat. Honestly.
The spaghetti looks perfect.
Yeah, it's real good. So, all right.
We are a family that likes to sauce our own bowls. I'm not a big saucy person, so we keep our pasta separate. You could absolutely combine the 2, but we like to do it our own.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I would like dump so much sauce in it, and then I love to get a little bread but I'm like mellowing out with the amount of sauce that I like these days. Yeah.
You were saying the older you get, the less hungry you are.
This is true.
All right, so I'm gonna sauce us up a bit.
Oh,
And then, if you wouldn't mind cheesing for me.
Yeah, so we got our Parmesan cheese here, and it's going on.
And before I'm gonna turn this down or off. I'll take a little less of that.
Okay, so this will be mine. We got the
Lots of
Parmesan
cheese.
here, yeah. All right.
Here, we'll come over here to try. That's good.
Yeah, I'm one of those people when they come over, like, oh, would you like some Parmesan cheese? I'm like, yep, keep it
going.
coming. Keep it coming.
So we're gonna add some beautiful parsley on top, and we'll give this a try. You wanna come over here?
Yeah, that's good.
So let's get an overhead shot here of this beautiful, beautiful bolognese. My goodness, like Noah said, if you just close your eyes, this is looking like a plant-based, tasting like an actual bolognese.
And it smells like there's pork sausage in there to me.
Yeah,
Like it smells like.
by taking your time to develop the flavor of each ingredient, you are left with just an immaculate sauce. So let's give her a try.
All right. Gotta try and get all of the stuff on one forkful. I've got a good amount.
Oh God.
Oh yeah.
It's so good. It's so hearty. I'm like,
Yeah. This is your best yet,
is it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
for sure.
This is like a meal that you want to make for your family. This is a meal that you want to make on a snowy day, a rainy day. It's just like soul food. It feels so nourishing.
Yeah.
I absolutely love this.
And the longer the sauce has time to just sit around a little bit, the flavors will come out even more.
Yeah, and I halved this sauce recipe because the first time I made it, I made so much, but I could eat this with a spoon, just the sauce. And like I said, I'm not a sauce person,
Yeah.
but this is so, so good. You could spoon this on top of rice. You could eat it just as is.
Yeah.
But having a nice big pot of this cooking on the stove, OMG.
Yeah, and people are always asked when someone's a vegan or vegetarian, well, where do you get your protein? This is loaded with protein. You've got the walnuts, you've got the lentils, you've got the nutritional yeast, the cashew parm. There's no shortage of protein sources here.
Pasta has protein too.
Yeah.
Lentils have 18 grams of protein per cup. So, I mean, this is where it's at, if you ask me. So we're gonna dive into these bowls.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today,
We hope you make this at home and enjoy it.
and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.